Hello friends, welcome to my channel PT Zone. In this video, I will be telling you the strategies and methods I used in retail lecture that helped me to score a perfect 90 in speaking section. So before starting, I would like to show you guys my scorecard. So I have a overall score of 86 point and in speaking I have a score of a perfect 90. I could achieve this score only in my fourth attempt. So I am showing you my scorecard because I want to let you know that whatever strategies and methods I have been telling you guys is based on my own experience of 4 attempts in PTE. Right? So now let's start with retail lecture. So retail lecture in exam you will get 2 to 3 questions and you will hear a audio which would most probably would be a lecture given by any professor or any expert in any particular field. So you will hear that audio for 1 or 2 minutes, and as soon as that audio ends you get a 10 seconds of preparation time, after which the recorder starts and you hear a beep, after which you need to speak for 40 seconds about that lecture that you just listened. This section is important because it not only add marks to your speaking section but also add marks to your listening section. And it is also considered one of the most difficult question in speaking section. I also personally feel that it is the most difficult question and it requires the maximum amount of preparation. So why it is considered difficult is that because you get very less time for preparation. You only get 10 seconds. Other thing is that while listening you also need to make notes. So you have to do multitasking. You are listening and also you are making notes. So note making is also very important in this section. Other thing is when you are speaking, you also have to refer to your note. So when you look at your note and speak at the same time, your fluency goes down. So the key thing in this section, in this type of question, is that you have to balance your content and the fluency, because unlike describe image, in this section content is also important. As you, if you have seen my previous video, you would have known that I have always mentioned that in describe image you should not think much about the content, you should be just fluent. But in this section I would say you should not ignore content. The reason why I'm saying this is that if you ignore content in retail lecture, you may get good marks in speaking section, but your marks in listening section might come down. So the important thing in these type of question is that you need to make a correct balance between the content you are speaking and your fluency. But even though content is important in this section, you should prefer fluency over content. So other important thing about this section is notes making. You need to simultaneously make notes when you are listening to the audio, so that once the audio is completed you can speak continuously for 40 seconds of, while referring to the notes that you have already made, right? So notes making become extremely important in this section. While making notes, the primary motive of listening should be to understand the central idea of the lecture, right? So as soon as you get the central idea or the main topic of the lecture, just write that down in the notebook. But instead of writing just one word or just a keyword, write a phrase. So what I mean by phrase is that instead of just writing one word as a keyword, write the complete phrase. For example, if the lecture is talking about education, it would have been talking about the improvement in education or the problems of education or importance of education. So write the complete phrase of the general topic that is being talked about, right? Other important thing while making your note as keywords. So a lot of people advise to just write down keywords. So in the lecture, you pick up 6 or 7 keywords and write that down in your notes. So in fact, I also used to follow this thing, but somehow it didn't work well with me. So instead of writing 6 keywords, I used to write three phrases. So let's say I have a keyword called crime rate, let's say, and the speaker said the crime rate is increasing because of something. So instead of writing just crime, I would write crime because of something. So the exact 3 or 4 words, whatever speaker said, I wrote that. The drawback of this phrase thing was that earlier I used to write 6 or 7 keywords. Now I was only able to write 2 or 3 phrases. But according to me, phrases gets you more marks as compared to keyword. Based on my own experience, I can say that speaking about 5 or 6 keyword won't give you that much marks as just speaking 2 phrases would give you, because in phrases you will be talking about 4 or 5 words which would be exactly said by the speaker, so it will give you more marks. So now I will show you the template that I have made for myself. But if you're able to write a lot of things, if you're able to write 3 or 4 phrases, don't bother too much about the template that you have made. Just speak. So template basically helps you when you are not able to make up good notes, and if you stumble a lot. So if you have not practiced a lot, and you have while speaking your fluency is not good, then probably you should use the template that I will be showing you now. So here's the template. So you can always start this line: in the given lecture the speaker was mainly talking about, and whatever is the general topic. So I always try to, as I mentioned, I don't use only the keyword. I just try to make sure impact of, or the effect of, or the result, process. So let's say general topic is about education. Let's say the speaker came and he talked about education. So I would just say in the given lecture the speaker was mainly talking about the impacts of education. Right? As soon as I say this, then I come to the next line. So when I come to the next line, I would be looking at my notebook. So since I am looking at my notebook and figuring out what is the first phrase that I am supposed to speak, so at that time I won't be thinking too much. I would be just repeating the line that I've already learned. He explained the correlation between different aspect of the general, the whatever topic is there in general. And then by the time you have spoken this line, you would have seen the phrase in your textbook. And after that you can say first and foremost he mentioned, then you just repeat the same line whatever you have written, and then you can say then he discussed, or you don't have to even say that he then discussed. If you have a proper phrase written in your notebook, you can just speak those things, those 3 phrases, and in the end, as soon as you reach 35 seconds, you can conclude by saying this. In conclusion, we can say that the speaker is an expert in this area and has provided an important information about whatever the general topic is. So I use this complete template only in worst case scenario when I have very less content written in my notebook. So generally I speak a few lines from this template. So I always use the first line and some line in between. For example, first and foremost he mentioned, I always use this line. I always use the first line. In the given lecture the speaker was mainly talking about. And for the conclusion, if from the given lecture I didn't get the conclusion, I use this line in conclusion. We can say that the speaker is an expert in this area and he has provided important information about the general topic. So sometimes when I have less time and I don't know the conclusion, I will just say in the given in conclusion we can say that the speaker is expert in the general topic, whatever topic it is, right? So learn this template by heart, but practice it so that based on the situation and based on the difficulty level of the lecture and based on the notes that you already have, you need to decide how much words you will speak from the template and how much words you will speak from your notes. So that is basically a personal choice, and not a personal choice. Basically that depends on the practice you have, because in my third attempt, in fact, when I started using this method of phrases and this template, it went well, but when I went in my fourth attempt, I I had done so much of practice that it was very easy for me to just speak fluently and also to just talk about whatever the speaker said. I was able to replicate most of the thing, not replicate exactly, but yes, the content was also good and the fluency was also good. But yes, from the template I didn't use the complete template, but I used first line and between one or two lines, that's it. Important points that should be kept in mind for this section is that you should be fluent. You should try to speak at least 80 words in the given 38 to 40 seconds. Make good notes. Instead of just writing the keywords, write the complete phrases, and make sure you are fluent. Even if you are not able to understand what the speaker said, even if you couldn't write anything, just speak on the topic, right? So in the worst case scenario, speak anything, but don't let your fluency go down. So that's all for this section. If you still have doubts, feel free to contact me at connect.pt@gmail.com. If you like this video, don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. It will definitely motivate me to make more videos. Thank you.